Sun in Pisces, the fabulous Pisceans out there. I do think that this sign is often sort of considered the most spiritual, but I like to think it as more, this sign is one that is learning about connection to everyone and everything. And there's also something to be said here with emotions. This is a water sign. But a big part of what makes this sign spiritual is the sensitivity, is the ability to sort of feel out an energy in a room and ride that energy. But wisdom really comes from recognizing what energy is worth traveling and what isn't, where it is that you want to disconnect, and where it is that you want to actively engage and why, so that you're constantly behaving in ways that make you feel good about yourself. Now, Sun and Pisceans, when they're young, now here's the thing, they tend to look a little sleepy, especially when they're young. They can, and they have like sort of a very deep, they can have a very strong depth to the eyes, especially in very early life. And these are people, as I said, when they start off in life, in early life, because a part of the learning in this life is using the emotions to their advantage, which is a big part of the water energy. All the water signs in their own way go through this. But for Pisces, it's about they can be just so much of a sponge, especially as I said in the early part of life, just be so much of a sponge that they're sort of displaying the emotions of the people around them rather than really knowing, okay, what do I really feel and how am I going to express in the context of this? But ultimately, this process leads to an understanding that all energies are within them, and ultimately they're the ones who are choosing which energy to align themselves with. I remember, and this to me illustrates the Piscean lesson so much, because I believe that all the different signs are within us all. But Sun in Pisces, this is part of the process. I remember having this revelation, if you will, in earlier part of life, and I realized that it isn't about the substance, right? If I could be in a room of people and the people are, everybody's drinking. Well, what they're doing is they're riding an energy. They're allowing their consciousness to shift so that they can ride an energy that they've identified as this is the energy that it is when you're tipsy. This is the energy of what it is to be drunk. And that I could choose to ride that energy with them without actually having to drink. Now, this is a big revelation to me. This revelation happened a long time ago, back in my early 20s. So it was a good revelation to have because it saved me a lot of money on a lot of different things once I understood that I didn't have to take any of those things. But then I didn't have anything to blame when I was emotionally hungover the next day. Well, I share this with you because even though I'm not a Pisces, this is a part of the process of Piscean learning, is that ultimately every emotion you ride has a cost, yes, but you are choosing to ride it. And you can decide what you're going to ride without having to do anything that ultimately can be self-destructive to you. This sign is one more than the others that has a true desire to experience connection on a level of emotion and a desire to be plugged into source. And this sign is at its best when it understands that being plugged into source ultimately is about alignment and bringing forward your best and not necessarily about oblivion or escapism. So this sign is at its best. A part of its learning in the early life, there can be, depending on how strong that sun is, can be very escapist, very imaginative as well. Needs an outlet for that imagination so that it counts for something. Another way that sensitivity can be used to their advantage. It's a sign that can believe in miracles and because of that manifest them. But that needs to be balanced with a sense of doing what's required to make the most of the miracle when it does show up, and then doing what's required as you prepare for the miracle to show up as well. And this is also a sign as it grows, comes to understand that connection isn't about sort of disengaging life, as I said, but it is about understanding that there is a way to be a modern mystic. And what that means is where there was a time when to be a mystic, it meant that you just sort of go off and you go into a cave somewhere and you just say, okay, forget life, I'm just going to meditate. Forget food, I'm just going to meditate. Forget sleep, I'm just going to meditate. It's kind of like that journey that the Buddha went on, right? Famously, the Buddha went on this journey where he first sort of realized that the world was not that great a place, that the world had pain in it. And so he decides to figure out, like, sort of the truth, the way to alleviate this pain. And he starts off spending years with these people doing extreme spiritual practices, practicing extreme sort of like withdrawing things, withholding basic essentials like food, keeping those things away from them as a way to induce spiritual experiences, as a way to induce sort of altered consciousness to figure out what's true. And he just came to realize that, wait a minute, it's about balance, what he called the middle way. It's about balance, about moderation. It's about understanding that, yes, you got to eat. And especially in this world, I think what we call the modern mystic, which is very much what the Pisces is about, part of their learning in this life is to understand that you can actually take that state of spirit and heart that you experience in that cave while meditating and bring it to your day job. You know, if you're a cashier at Walmart, how do you bring that peace that you feel as a monk in a cave to your job day in and day out as you're ringing up people? That's what it means to be a modern mystic, is to engage the world on its own terms while practicing a sense of connection and sensitivity and communion, and recognizing that it is the most mundane experiences that ultimately hold tremendous spiritual energy, and nothing is cut off from spirit and a spiritual life. That it is those everyday moments that actually are infused with spirit and connection and communion that they so desire. That's when they're truly able to elevate this energy and experience that sense of spiritual ecstasy that ultimately they are going for. And it is in that place that they really come to find their power and their happiness as well. Well, thank you so much for watching. Until we connect again, take care. Thank you for watching this lesson as part of Synchronicity University. You can go online at synchronicityuniversity.com or click on your screen if you're on YouTube right now to access even more video lessons, to access horoscopes, interviews with some of the most amazing astrologers in the world, and so much more.